This became a full circle moment for me as we handled the Philippines Football League. I actually quit doing football. Kailangan kasi meron magtrabaho ng mga bagay na yan. Hindi naman umaandar yung sports. Nang yun at yun lang. We do tell these stories. Not just within the communities, but also outside of it. This podcast is recorded live by Maginhawa Podcast Studio housed here at Outspace Maginhawa. Welcome to episode 0 of Accessed. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Glenn Lopez, your host. I'm essentially a sports creative where I do a lot of live streams, broadcasts. I used to be a sports photographer as well. And I thought of doing this primarily because the discussions around sports media and creativity is very rare. And I decided to call this the Accessed Podcast. Bakit nga ba? Bakit nga ba siya Access Podcast? Primarily because when you're doing sports events or when you're doing sports media and sports events, hindi madali. Hindi madaling makakuha ng kailangan mong pumunta on-site. Kailangan mong pumunta sa mga court, kailangan mo pumunta sa mga games, kailangan mong pumunta sa mga arena or stadium where sports events or games are being held. And primarily, of course, the dream is to actually always photograph or record on video yung mga big games. Like, for example, UAAP, PBA, PVL, and so on and so forth. And one of the things that is difficult to have, yung access nga. No? So, the concept of access is that you have to show up. You have to bring yourself. You have to be physically there. Unfortunately for sports, wala kasing work from home. And it's very important that you actually have ID cards like this one or like these three, and I will share them to you later on. Essentially, the concept of the ID card for sports events is that it also tells you kung saang area ka lang pwedeng pumunta, anong pwede mong gawin in that particular area, and kung saan yung mga area na hindi ka pwedeng pumunta. And in this case, people always wonder, paano nga ba mag-shoot? Paano nga ba mag-shoot paano nga ba magkaroon ng opportunity to record or shoot this event? Kasi syempre, if you're a paying public, hindi naman pwede na magdadala ka ng camera, which is normally the rules set by bigger venues. But in this case, I thought of putting together this podcast so that we can try to get insights from people in and around the sports media and creativity practitioners like photographers, videographers, mga producers, or even different kinds of people like, for example, different roles. For example, a stadium announcer, journalists, content creators, tournament directors maybe, and so on and so forth. The Access Podcast is hopefully a deep dive or at least a sneak peek into how sports creatives and people around the sports industry actually engage and do the work. What makes it challenging? Anong mga bagay na nagpapastay sa kanila? Ano yung mga motivations nila? And to be honest, and at least for the future episodes that we will be recording, a tying factor there is that it's a bit challenging, no? It's already difficult to become an athlete. What more if you are a creative, and being in the creative industry is already difficult. What more if you are in a volatile industry like the sports industry? So in this case, we will ask our guests to bring their AD cards, their access device cards, and they will be sharing stories on what made it a memorable one for them, what would be stories in or around their practice. Sometimes we can get technical, pero mas madalas na it's more of kwentuhan lang siya. Okay? Why did I start this podcast? Kasi wala akong naririnig na mga ganitong very rare. I've been around the sports industry for probably around above 5 years. And there's always the question on origin stories, paano nagsimula, anong pwedeng gawin para makapag-shoot ng ganito or makapag-join ng ganitong tournament as media. And hopefully the stories that will be shared here are the ones that would give you an insight if you are, let's say, a budding sports creative, or you want to do sports creative work down the line, or maybe organizing work as well. So potentially, sino-sino yung mga guests dito? In my immediate circle, mostly these are sports photographers and visual creatives, graphic designers and videographers. But I'd like to think that there's a lot more to it, like project managers, tournament directors, or tournament organizers. And marami kasing laman or maraming kwento about this industry na, again, it might be challenging, but at the very least, merong nagpo-push through pa rin. And hindi naman in a way matibay, but there's also a certain natural selection on who can actually stay. Meron tayong mga assumptions na, this is how the business goes. Pero pagdating pala, iba pala yung nangyari, hindi pala ganun yung product market fit, and so on and so forth. We'll probably touch on, or at least listen to also people in the marketing industry. Yeah, in the marketing aspect of it, or in the sales, kailangan, yung sports kasi hindi naman siya, medyo mataas siya sa hierarchy of needs, no? Kumbaga, hindi ka naman pwede mag-sports kung nagugutom ka lang. Hindi naman pwede mag-sports kung wala kang baseline on what you actually do. Okay? What do I hope that you listeners or viewers get out of this? Well, the conversations, hopefully, you'll join us in this podcast as well. But also, mas marami kasing kwento, mas madaling matuto. Maybe try to avoid some of the mistakes that other people have made. Or, di naman chismis, pero at least try to understand also kung this might be for you, this might not be for you. Kasi diba, to a certain extent, pag collective kasi yung, di man suffering, pero collective yung experience, parang mas madali mag-power through. And maybe we can also take away some understanding as well from, different aspects of the sports community or the sports organizers and so on and so forth. What is my hope for the sports industry from or through this podcast? Well, ayun nga. Baka by being or by having this podcast, we can run these conversations and maybe we can change certain things, change the way certain things actually happen or are being executed. Maybe we have shared experiences that will make the industry become better, not just in terms of opportunities, but also in terms of sustainability. And also, maybe just a bit more understanding on, ganito pala ginagawa to sa gantong level. Pero pagdating sa national level, ganito na siya ginagawa. Sa international level, ganito rin siya ginagawa. So, there are certain procedures or rules or guidelines set at different levels that would allow us to understand na, hindi pala biro tong ginagawa natin. And to a certain extent, yung structure na rin on how things are actually put together and executed, it might make sense from one sport to another. And maybe that's another hope that we can have for this podcast, is that we can listen to different perspectives on how this sport actually puts this together, and then best practices that can be brought to another sport, na ganito pala yung media practices nila, and then maybe for procedures and so on and so forth, no? And hopefully down the line, we can also build a community of sports media and creative practitioners as well. Maybe something for the nearest future, but hopefully for the first few episodes, you'll hang around with us and listen to the stories. How about me? As Glenn Lopez, ano yung memorable na AD cards? This becomes a bit dated at this point. So I have 3, and this was for the 2025-2026 season. of football. So, I will move this. So, number one, actually lahat to football. I have an AD card na way back pre-pandemic. It was still football, but in this case, medyo nag-full circle na siya. Maybe in another episode, we can talk about my experiences as well. But in this case, I have three, no, in progression. So, football for me is an industry na hindi man welcome, but it allowed me a lot of opportunities. Coming from becoming a sports photographer and eventually looking into how to do broadcast or live stream. Madalas kasi ako mag-events before. And in this case, these are 3 AD cards. 2 that are related to broadcast. And then the other one is, access pa lang siya in terms of observing. So number 1 is this one. Oops. So if you're watching on video, yes, it's this one. This is the Shopee Cup. No, so the Shopee Cup is the ASEAN Football Federation club competition. And this ID or this AD card for me shows that we are the host broadcaster as part of the TV crew and me as the director. So why is this special for me? Primarily because this was my first full responsibility as becoming a director for an international broadcast. We produced the world feed for the Shopee Cup for local games, not really across the Southeast Asian region, but for just for the games that are based here in Manila. But actually, ito ay nagulat kami. So, in relation to the next AD card that I will be sharing, we started internationally. In this case, after the Shopee Cup, and we kind of knew already that we will be taking it on, this became a full circle moment for me as we handled the Philippines Football League. No? So we were very lucky, I guess. Thank you to the PFL. We were very lucky that we were assigned as the appointed as the host broadcaster. And being a host broadcaster the responsibility of being a host broadcaster is that you produce the feed or at least the live stream that will be shown to the fans and also audiences, well, locally at the very least, and also around the world because we are not geo fans naman. This became a full circle moment because I almost quit. I actually quit doing football. Siyempre, tao pa rin naman tayo and tao rin naman yung mga nasa paligid natin. So somehow, may mga bagay na hindi talaga tugma kung paano patakbuhin ng ibang tao at kung paano mo siya gustong patakbuhin. Hindi kayo nagtutugma. So, okay lang naman yun. Wala namang problema sa amin yun. Wala namang problema sa akin yun. So, sometimes we just try to stay away from trouble in that sense. And we're very happy. We're still running this at the time of recording. We're still running the 2025-2026 season for the Philippines Football League. This around January 2026. We're just in round 1. We still have 2 rounds to go. 2 round robins to go. And I'm very happy about this one because we were able to, or at least I was able to, we were able to like deliver a new flavor as well. So, sabi kasi nila sometimes yung pagiging director or yung pagiging technical director, pindot-pindot lang naman yung broadcast, madali lang naman yan. But in this case, we were able to design or redesign the flow of the program so that it might respond to the local audience or to a wider audience. Hindi lang yung traditional football fans, but also football fans or at least fans of other sports trying to peek into football as well. So this is still running at the time of recording, and hopefully, we will finish this with flying colors. And then finally, so nasa ASEAN tayo kanina, and nasa ASEAN level tayo kanina. Hopefully we do get more projects from there, local level, and then also have this AD card right here, which is an AD card for the AFC Champions League 2. So the AFC Champions League 2 is Asian Football Confederation. Second level siya ng club tournament football around the region. In this case, this is just a VVIP, quote unquote. This is just a VVIP AD card, and it doesn't identify me or whoever holds the ID, but this is something that we aspire for. A bit far-fetched na if you really think about it, yung FIFA World Cup. And malayo siya because it's international, and of course the hope is that the FIFA World Cup would actually pass by the Philippines in order for us to get our hands on it. But malayo na yan. But going back, this is something that me and my business partner is working towards, yung AFC projects. Crossing fingers that maybe when you watch this episode or episode 0 in the future, nakuha na namin siya or na-achieve na namin siya. Yeah, so those are 3 AD cards. Prior to this one, we've had a lot as well. Our team actually have covered floorball, futsal, figure skating, because part of my identity also is that I found it's important for emerging sports like those to actually have live streams para may mas maikikwento yung mga tao. Doon lang naman umiikot primarily yung work na yun. Yung work na ito sa sports. We really want to tell stories of our athletes, and one of the things that we really believe in sa Upstream Sports TV is that, or at least our vision, is that we're able to document a story or the competition of an athlete coming from grassroots all the way eventually when they become an Olympian and a medal winner sa Olympics. That would be very exciting for us. But in this case, going back into our podcast, kailangan kasi meron magtrabaho ng mga bagay na yan. Hindi naman umaandar yung sports ng yun at yun lang. At hindi naman yan nakikwento yung sarili niya. Part of our role and responsibility as sports media and creatives and organizers is that we do tell these stories. Not just within the communities, the sports communities or teams, but also outside of it, and make our nation proud, make our country proud, countrymen proud, and make ourselves proud as well. So yes, that is the Access Podcast. That's the easiest way for you to get access to this, is to make sure that you have subscribed on any platform or follow us on any platform that you get your podcasts from. Thank you for listening to episode 0. This is like just an overview of what potentially can be this podcast. Again, special shout out to the Maginhawa Podcast Studio housed here at Outspace Studio, and also Search Coffee for the coffee. Again, my name is Glenn Lopez. This is just episode 0. We'll catch you with the stories in the other episodes, and see you then. This podcast is recorded live by Maginhawa Podcast Studio housed here at Outspace Maginhawa.